Hi and welcome to LCAT Low Carb Ancestral Living with Pim Johnson. Today we have a returnee. Last time we were talking about semen retention and all the benefits that this can bring to your life from a male perspective. And today he is back with his wife Sarah, and we're gonna dive into the female perspective a little bit and see what she was experiencing during this whole transformation. So Nakula, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being back.
It's so good to have you back, and I'm really happy that you offered, and I'm really happy that Sarah wanted to come as well. So we never went into your relationship the last time, but do you just want to walk us through a little bit, like, how long have you guys been married, and what was your relationship like before you started practicing semen retention?
You can answer this question.
Sure. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, we've been together. We began together 13 years, and I was a bartender at Eastside Mario's. And if anybody's not familiar with Eastside Mario's, it's like a American Italian kind of eatery. It's a franchise, and I don't know if it's worldwide, but it's really popular in the U.S. and in Canada, and. Yeah, so I was a bartender, and Sarah was the hostess, and I was like, "All right," and so we started dating, and we were very Western material, modern relationship. It was I remember I was literally having a conversation like, this is just casual, right? Like, it's nothing serious, It was
having fun.
Yeah, just having fun, right? Like hooking up, and, we weren't waiting till marriage or anything like that. And, but we really liked hanging out above and beyond just hooking up, but we really liked hanging out. I mean, we would just listen to music and smoke a lot of dope. We were younger at that time. And that's what our relationship was, a very, very, like I'd say, very Western, normal type of modern type of relationship. There was no concept of semen retention or personal development or any of that stuff was not in our world at all. We were just simply, a couple kids having fun. And that's how it started. And we liked hanging out. And I remember us saying like, oh, this is just casual, we won't even put it on Facebook type of thing. That's the official, right? You're only official if it says it on Facebook. And I think within like 3 months, I was living with her and her family. So this casual, like, hey, we'll just like kind of connect, went into, hey, why don't you like move in and such? And I think it was like 2-3 months. It was really quick. We were living together in her parents' basement, and 13 years later, we're here, still in love and still going strong and still learning.
Still getting along.
Still getting along. Yeah, very much. Still getting along, having fun.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's so funny. So yeah, okay. So in the beginning of most relationships, everything is new and everything is exciting, and I can see how that kind of went on, but usually things cool off after a little while. And did you guys ever experience that?
I mean, we've had our moments, but I would say our life in general has been very adventurous and unlike, I guess, the normal like societal relationship, like get married, have kids, have a family. So our life has always been adventurous. So it's always kept us, it's always kept things very interesting.
Yeah. There's been times in our relationship where we've, like any relationship, we've had tough times. We were actually just talking about this like a couple of days ago, and about just our relationship. And there's been times, like any relationship goes through ups and downs, tough times. Overall, we've had a great relationship. Our tough times, like financial struggles, bad decisions, mainly financially. We've made some bad investments and such, which would put a lot of pressure on us. So therefore, You know, when you're struggling to pay the bills, you're not sure what's going on. You know, the sexual energy between a relationship will naturally sort of die off. And so we've had times where we're definitely much more passionate, let's say, and much more attached in a sexual way. And we've had times where, you know, it hasn't been there, pressures, life, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty normal then.
Yeah, it's been
So
in that sense, it's normal. I think any relationship goes through those type of ups and downs.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started practicing semen retention a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I would say roughly about 4 or 5 years ago. I was introduced, we got involved with a network marketing company. And this was maybe, a year or two into our relationship. We're near the beginning. And we were both, as individuals, I think that we met at a time where we were young, we were partying, you know, that type of thing. But at the same time, we were also transitioning. Sarah was coming out of some personal, family type stuff. And I was also looking for myself. What am I going to do with my life? Who am I? And I was also in a transition. So I think we met each other where individually we were both transitioning and discovering who we are more as individuals and how we wanted to be our own people. And so we got involved with a network marketing company, and we started going to these seminars, and they started talking about personal development and taking responsibility for your life, mindset. And this is the first time we've been introduced to any type of personal development concepts like these. And we did, so we started going to these seminars. We went through a program called the Landmark Forum, which we both did. And we both did, you did the advanced course too?
No,
I did the advanced course, but the forum, it was a 3-day weekend seminar. And we did it separately. I did it first, and then Sarah went and did it. Yeah, that's right. My mom also did it, my father. It was such a powerful course that literally like my family signed up because they could see such a difference in me from the course. And then Sarah did it. My mom also was in her class, and then my father ended up actually doing it as well. And that course it was like the first time it was the first time I guess someone ever put a mirror up to ourselves as individuals and said, your life is your fault, kind of thing, right? Like you have to be responsible for your life. And and it talked a lot about like the stories that we run. Stories, you know, that we have in our head, and how it's the stories that we have that really make up our life. And so it started bringing up all this unconscious stuff that we had as individuals up to the forefront. And I particularly got fascinated with the mind and how it works and all its powers and nuances. And so in that way, we started jumping down this personal development train. And it was somewhere along that journey I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I got introduced to this concept of sex transmutation. Kind of skipped it over, like most people skip that chapter over, read it and be like, okay, I kind of get it. Basically, get your stuff under control. And then it wasn't until later on that we got involved with the Hare Krishna community, so a type of yogic practice which has its roots from India, and then they promoted what's known as brahmachari, or a monk lifestyle, celibacy, and it was like, wow,
we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's a little bit difficult here, right? Right? And so it was kind of like, and then Sarah. Number of years ago had I don't know, how would you describe it, a breakdown health-wise?
Yeah, like I've always had some issues like with depression and anxiety. So a couple of years ago, when Nick started practicing semen retention, is when I went back home for a few months to just work some things out on a personal level, and that's when yeah.
It was a tough time. I mean, Sarah, like basically had like a physical and mental kind of, I don't know, I'd say like a breakdown. And she went back to live. We moved away from our family and stuff. Nothing negative there, just through opportunity, through life. But she went back to Toronto, where we lived, and we now live on the east coast of Canada. And we spent 6 months apart in our relationship. And I was reading all of the spiritual knowledge through the Vedic knowledge, so Bhagavad Gita specifically, and learning from monks and learning from these very high level spiritual practitioners. And I call it my forced monkhood, right? I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, right? Like I'm gonna, since Sarah's not around, and I'm gonna be by myself here. And I spent about close to 6 months really by myself. Like I was very much living in solitude for those 6 months. I didn't travel, I didn't go anywhere. I was at home most of that time, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to really try to, live this kind of celibacy life, try to not watch porn, not masturbate, like nothing. Like I'm going to try to go what's known as brahmachari. And I'm grateful that I had that time period to do it. And I would say I did really well for about 4 to 5 months. And then after that, it was just like, it was game on, right? Because it's like I had so much sexual energy. I was just like kind of pent up, sexually frustrated. And that's when I started, and then I just kind of like was like just masturbating and watching porn and like all this kind of stuff going on. And me and Sarah, as you could tell, we're very open, right? So it's not like if I watch porn, it's not like I'm like hiding it from Sarah or anything like that, right? I might even be like, oh, check this out, right? Right, type of thing, right? So, so we're extremely open in our relationship. Right? Especially in the realm of sex, we talk about sex. We don't feel like it's something that we should have shame around or guilt around, or that we should be doing things behind each other's back. If there's some sexual discussion that needs to happen, whether it's pornography or anything in the realm, our kind of rule is it has to be open, like it has to be talked about. And that way it keeps our relationship very solid in that way and trusting. And so in that time period, I realized that brahmachari is not for me, a monk is not for me, and obviously I didn't even desire it. And so that's when I started looking outside the Vedic knowledge to the Taoist knowledge. I started just searching all this esoteric knowledge about sexual energy because I got fascinated with the concept that you can use sexual energy not just to have great sex, but you can use it to manifest. It's actually the very energy of life. It's what makes the world go round, sort of say. It's what drives us all, and how and this goes back to my fascination with the mind, of how sexual energy and the mind are one and the same. You cannot separate your sexual energy and your psychology. And so that's when I found a mentor who was studying and practicing the Taoist techniques called sexual kung fu. And kung fu means daily discipline, that which requires daily discipline. That's the original meaning of kung fu. We think of kung fu as like a martial art, but it's anything that requires daily discipline is gung fu. And so sexual kung fu is bringing daily discipline to your sexual energy. However, they took an approach that said, we know most guys aren't going to give up sex, right? We know most people aren't going to give up sex, but what we're going to do is bring discipline and focus to it, and you can engage in non-ejaculatory sex and practice semen retention. And of course, we had the discussion on the last podcast, just myself and you, about the benefits of semen retention and why a man should practice it. And so I started studying and learning all these techniques and practicing when Sarah was away. And I was telling her, like, I'm doing this and practicing these things and such. And then when she did come back and she got healthy again and got strong again, which she herself went through a tremendous transformation. Like, Sarah left and 6 months later came back as a different person, stronger, setting more boundaries, not so much defining herself by me anymore, which tends to happen with a lot of women, I think, right? The man could, or one partner tends to define everything. And I'm a very strong personality, as you could tell, right? And so in that way, I can easily take over and just be like, we're doing this and we're doing it, right? but Sarah was able to come back, put me in my place, kind of say, like, check me, and be able to be with a strong personality and set her own boundaries and such. And which is actually very attractive for me, because for me, a powerful woman is attractive. And so she came back a different, more powerful woman. And our relationship then took, and I wouldn't say our relationship was bad or anything.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's not like we were like in a bad spot or had like, it wasn't like that at all. But it just up-leveled. It up-leveled because I was practicing semen retention, and based upon all those benefits, my own masculine charge and focus and clarity was so heightened that, you know, we were able to do better financially. We were building business, like we were just on task, on point. And because Sarah had gone through her own transformations and working with her anxiety and everything and depression and learning all these tools and transformational techniques to be able to deal with that and grow, she came back a stronger woman, which now has made our life even better, both in and outside the bedroom. Because I feel like now we're most like individuals. I don't just run the show. And Sarah can also say no to me, which is super important. Like, it's super important that's able to happen, even though sometimes I don't like it. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or yeah, of course, yeah. But it is super important, and it's actually really beneficial for our relationship. So.
Yeah, so Sarah, what did you think when, you know, what were your thoughts when he said that he was going to start practicing semen retention?
I was happy for him. I said, yeah, go ahead, do it. Cool. Whenever Nick has wanted to like pursue anything on the personal development level, I mean, what woman wouldn't want their husband to do that, you know? I mean, it improves your life, it improves your relationship, it improves the quality of the relationship. So for me, it was like, yeah, do it.
I think there were some initial questions about like how does that work? Especially
there were
sex.
questions,
yeah.
But when you said that you wanted to do it, there was no hesitation. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you came back and kind of you and this new person, obviously he's changed as well, I assume. So what was the first thing you noticed?
I noticed that he had, Nick has always had a lot of energy, but I noticed that his energy was a lot more focused. It wasn't so chaotic anymore. Or at least he had developed a discipline for that energy. Yeah, and for me, I was like, oh, nice, because I'm, I need a little more stability than Nick does. So the fact that he was just like focused on one to two things was perfect.
Yeah, that like just to give like a practical like, yeah, like how that practically translates, like just to get some insight, is like before I started practicing semen retention and really consciously working on my sexual energy and the way that I express my energy overall, I had like 2 to 3, 4, 5 business ideas on the go. I would start something, do that for 3 months, 6 months, and then be like, no, that's not it, and then change, and then do that, and then we would start getting momentum and be like that, and then change again, and that started taking a toll on Sarah, because as I've learned more about masculine feminine energy, I realize now, back then I didn't realize it, but now I realize that she couldn't fully trust me in the ability to provide, the ability to protect, the ability to be a stable man, because I'm always changing my mind and what am I going to do and what am I going to do. And so she would be like, okay, we finally found something, and then feel secure in that. And then I would go and change, and then she would then feel unsecure. So it brought up a lot of, like, I guess, core safety issues. Am I able to trust this guy, right? Can I? And then, and a lot of guys, I work with men, right? And this is something that I teach them now. I say, if you're always changing what you're doing, and you're all over the place, so you're essentially in your feminine energy, you're chaotic, right? You're up and down and such, right? Then your wife or your partner, she's not going to be able to trust you, or even, in a lot of guys, there's this idea of like, oh, I want my woman to surrender to me, trust me, let me lead, right? But a woman is only going to be able to do that with all confidence if you show her that you're capable of staying focused and actually getting shit done. Like, like, can you actually execute the things you say you're going to execute? Can she see that you are a man of your word and that you get done? It doesn't mean I'm perfect, and we're not talking about perfection, but overall, are you a growing, expanding man? And until I started practicing semen retention, I wasn't. But when I did, that's it. Now she saw he's focused, and I knew it in myself. This is it, because I'm more solid in myself.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you have first-hand experience there from watching all of this happen. So, how did this change? I mean, how quickly or slowly did this change anything in your sex life and the rest of your life as well? Like, because you came back when you already were a month or two into it, so I guess it was kind of like a jump start, or not. Just tell me about that.
How did it change our sex life? Well, I mean, as anyone who's listening might know, when you're dealing with like depression or anxiety, your sex drive just, right, goes down the toilet. So it took a little while for things to kind of pick up and get going on that in that sense. But it was really interesting. Sex was definitely different. I found that he was more focused on me, like my pleasure, because when you're practicing something like sexual kung fu or semen retention, you're not, a man is not outwardly like ejaculating, right? And usually for women, when does sex end? When the man ejaculates. So if Nick is never ejaculating, well, when do we stop? It almost created like new rules to the game. So it was a little bit interesting figuring it out. Sex ended when I wanted sex to end, and that was, it put the power in my hands for the first time, right? So, it was very interesting, and it was very different, and, I mean, I like it. I have no complaints on that front. Yeah. What about for you?
I bet.
For me, well, yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, in a way, it's like, again, when we first started having sex and I wasn't ejaculating, I actually found that I was more satisfied from like a connection standpoint. So at that point, Sarah was away from 6 months, and I was going down the sort of porn and webcam girl kind of rabbit hole, right? Trying to satisfy my sexual desire and right. And it was so unsatisfying. Like it was hot. Like there's like, it's hot. Like there's like, oh wow, that's really sexy maybe from an outwardly standpoint. But the more that I would watch, the more sexually frustrated I would actually feel. And then the more I couldn't practice retention. And I recognized that my whole, whatever I had built up as far as like personal masculine power was getting depleted. So those months of brahmachari, those months where I was like really solid and clear and happy, like even though we were going through a tough time, I was like happy, right? And I recognized, because I learned as time went on, like my dopamine was balanced, my hormones, I wasn't depleting my energy. And so when Sarah came back, well, the first thing was that, like said, like it took us a bit, because when anybody's going through like depression, anxiety, these type of things, generally one of the first things that goes is libido, right? And so all of a sudden there's no real sex drive there. And so we had to be conscious to work on that and be like, well, what can we do? So there was this almost basis, and because of the training that I was receiving and going through with the sexual kung fu, which I call it sexual alchemy is how I brand it, is that the as men we learn to develop a new relationship with sex where it's not goal oriented. It's not about me just ejaculating and releasing my energy, which is how a lot of people approach sex. Like, it's not to cultivate energy, it's actually to release energy. So for most men, when they have sex, they ejaculate, and then right away they're like, I need to fall asleep or whatever, right? They're tired. But this type of sex is different, where the idea is actually we're connecting more. So how it changed for me is I'm not focused now on my own pleasure. I'm experiencing tremendous amounts of pleasure, even more heightened pleasure and more bodily pleasure. Like, it's all over. It's not just focused on the sexual organs, right? And then I was able to make Sarah orgasm a few times, right? Because I could go as long as I want. I could be more present with her. And therefore, I also felt more satisfied. So when she was like, okay, I'm good, right? Okay, and enough for tonight, right? Type of thing, right? I was still like, I could keep going, right? Right? I was like, oh, right, because I haven't ejaculated, right? So I haven't ended, right? Sort of say. And through sexual alchemy, I learned to circulate that energy and hold that masculine, that charge. And instead of rolling over and going to sleep, I'm like, okay, great. I'm up early. Instead of sleeping 8 hours, I'm sleeping 6 hours or 4 hours. And yet I'm up early and I'm meditating and everything because I haven't lost that charge. So it created a dynamic where Sarah, like said, is more in control of when it ends, as opposed to the man being finished and then it's done, right? She can be like, yeah, let's keep going, or let's do that again. And when a woman orgasms the first time, it's easier than to make her orgasm the second time or the third time, right? So once you get one in, right, she can have multiple orgasms. And for myself, right, I learned how to have energetic orgasm, which is not an ejaculatory orgasm, but a full body explosion of that energy. And I can also have that multiple times. But again, she could then be like, okay, it's done. And I wouldn't be left feeling frustrated. A lot of guys think that that's what you're going to give up. Well, I'm not going to be satisfied. Actually, it's the quite opposite. It's quite a mind, like it's hard to believe, right? I tell people, look, if you ask someone, what does a banana taste like? And you've never ate a banana, it's almost nearly impossible to describe what a banana tastes like, because you don't have a reference point to it. So it's kind of like that, right? It's a different experience. And so what I noticed is that I would be more satisfied, but I would say another big difference is I would also be much more pursuing her more. So for example, we have sex, right? And then we finish having sex. The next day, instead of me being like, and any honest guy will tell you that this is the experience, in a way, they're kind of like, okay, leave me alone for a while, right? Because their masculine charge is done. Until that charge builds back up, through semen production, they would be like, okay, like kind of like disconnected. But actually, what happens in this type of relationship and sex is I'm now pursuing her more. I'm more touchy. Like, she comes around and I want to touch her more, and I want to be, why? Because I'm still charged up, right? So there's a more intimate playfulness there. And it really, as a man, it really brings out your more playfulness. You're almost high, but without doing drugs.
Right. I do want to add that the first few months, it was, I was a little bit self-conscious because, again, sex usually ends when the man finishes. So when, Nick is not finishing, you're like, oh, am I not satisfying you? Am I not doing a good job? So I was a little bit self-conscious in the beginning, but that goes away pretty quickly when you're having, 3 or 4 hour orgasms.
Yeah. It does take communication.
Oh, whatever.
I'm good. You just, in a way, yeah, right? She's like, I don't care for satisfying. No, I'm just joking. She's not like that at all. And it's not like I never ejaculate, but it's more like planned. Like, it'll be like, are you gonna? I'm gonna. It's like, oh, let's say I've been retaining for 3
months.
3 months, which I average right now. So when I first started practicing, it was like, once every couple weeks, once a month. And now I don't really count days, but like if I think back, like it'd be like it's average like once every 60 to 90 days kind of thing, right? But it's like it's kind of planned. I'll be like, hey, this weekend, I'm gonna
It's on.
It's on, right? And so we those nights that it's more planned, it's more conscious, like that's gonna happen, without maybe going into extreme details or anything, but we'll have an extra fun night, maybe there'll be some fantasies or some things going on because it's like, and it kind of makes it special, right? It's not like just this thing, it's not like an obligation, like a duty. Oh, okay, I guess I got to do my duty, get him off, and that way I could just get back to TV or whatever, So it becomes fun. There's a playfulness there that keeps that, like a lot of people talk about the honeymoon phase. Mm-hmm. It keeps that there, and sex becomes an expansive experience where it deepens your connection, your intimacy, not just in the bedroom, but outside the bedroom as well. Because, like, again, if we're having sex and I'm not ejaculating, I will be way more attentive and pursuing Sarah, because, again, I'm charged up and I'm like, hey, and I want to do it again. And right. And it's like, so there's just a connection there that's built. But it does take communication at the beginning, because a lot of what you're talking about is like
communication and a lot of trust, I would say.
Yeah, and it builds trust. Like, this type of sex builds trust. Like, I encourage couples to do it. Like, if you're in a relationship, take on this type of tantric. You can, like, this is like in the world of tantra, take on this kind of tantric experience where sex isn't just about having an orgasm or releasing your energy, but you're actually focused on what does the other person want? How can I serve the other person and their pleasure? That same attitude that's in the bedroom then comes outside the bedroom, because it's there. And you're engraving that into your mind, into your unconscious mind during sex. Sex is the best time to engrave belief systems, because it's when you're most open and vibrant. And this is, of course, when you start getting into subjects which are a little bit like mystical now, right? A little bit kind of going into the world of mysticism, of like this idea of manifesting through sex. And when a couple understands this power and this secret, they recognize during sex is when you're most open and your brain can create the quickest neural pathways. So you could have sex where you're actually having sex and focusing on life goals, or focusing on, for very spiritual people, even focusing on God and connection, and focusing on developing your relationship and finances. And you create a very nice energetic connection that stays with you long after the bedroom experience is done. And that's also extremely pleasurable.
So, Sarah, when he started to change and, pay more attention to you, getting more touchy, giving you, everything that you probably wanted, how did it change, how you felt about him, and did it change how you were behaving towards him as well?
I definitely felt more connected. One of my love languages is physical affection and touch. So when Nick was, let's just say, coming around more often, it was definitely appreciated. And yeah, you know what? When he's showing more interest in me, and it's only natural that that would be reciprocated. So, I mean, did you, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I noticed that, like, if I'm more desirable of Sarah, right, then I find, anyways, and you could probably elaborate and speak to your personal experience, but I find that Sarah is also more, like, in a way, feels attractive.
Well, definitely. And when I feel like more attractive, then I feel more confident. And when I feel more confident, then, like, you know, things get done around the house. The dishes are done quicker. So, you know, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, like this is again going into and I've spent more time studying the actual, like, energies and how it works and such like that, right? So that's why sometimes, like, I can maybe articulate certain things just because I've just spent, you know, this has become a almost like an obsessive passion of mine of how this works, right? Because I think it's transformative, and I think every man, woman, couple on the planet should be now learning about, like, to me, this is real sex education, not like what they teach in schools, but, like, let's get to real in-depth sexual education. And masculine energy is fire energy, or compared to, like, fire element, and feminine energy is compared to water. To boil water, you need fire. So when a man is desiring his wife and he's not allowing the porn or masturbation to take over, because if you're doing all that, then any man will tell you, if he's watching tons of porn, unless there's only one aspect that shows that porn, it's still, I don't recommend it, but there's only, unless the couple is sharing that experience together. So there is studies that show that couples who watch pornography together can still, like, create that intimacy, right? But when a guy or a woman is watching porn by themselves and almost in a secretive way, right? Which is normally how it's being done, or they're watching it by themselves and they're pleasuring themselves, then they are not as desirous of their partner or a real partner. We become more attached to the screen sex, as I call it these days, right? Internet sex, as opposed to real, actual sex with real people instead of screens.
Right.
And so when I'm more pursuing Sarah, then it's like fire being lit underneath the water. So the water begins to boil. Now, here's the beauty of water. It takes longer to get hotter than fire. Fire's hot already. So fire, you can ignite fire really quick, but you can extinguish it really quick, right? That's why as soon as a guy ejaculates, that's his fire, his heat is extinguished. Hence, he's not even, like, interested. He's like, I don't even want to talk right now, because he's just actually, his fire's out. So he has to wait, you know, and depending on his age, his health, his testosterone levels, like, if he's an unhealthy guy, overweight, it's going to take so long for his fire to get back going. And then that's going to be very difficult for the woman to be charged up. And, you know, right now there are more women cheating on their men than ever before. And one of the main reasons for that is sexual dissatisfaction, right? And it's largely due to the man not controlling his sexual energy or pleasuring himself in whatever way too much, so he has no charge to fire her up or to boil her water, sort of say. But here's the beauty. Once you get water boiling, and that water's boiling, and you keep it boiling, so if together you're, like, intentional, let's keep that water boiling. Well, water takes a long time to cool down, right? Hence, a woman can have multiple orgasms because she's hot already. She's now boiling, so she's ready. And if a woman knows how to keep her water boiling, she then becomes very vibrant in her energy. She then becomes very attractive, not just to her husband, but to the masculine energy as a whole. She becomes powerful as a woman because her water is boiling, which is very attractive to the masculine energy.
Interesting. And I think we spoke about this a bit the last time, but and I think I speak for most women when I say that one of the worst things that usually happen in relationships is then, after a while when things are kind of cooling down a little bit, and the guy starts to think that he's more or less entitled to sex. I'm generalizing very much here, and then not showing the woman any appreciation or interest in the woman, and the sex is just like completely unsatisfactory for usually the woman in this case, because we do need that longer boiling time and the attention. So would you say that, are there other ways of turning this around rather than semen retention? Because for a lot of guys, there's going to be like, oh no, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. Is there another way of approaching the same problem and getting some sort of results that are long lasting?
Yes. So when we say semen retention, again, this is not a monk lifestyle, clearly. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is not, right?
Sure.
This is not a monk. This is, I call it in between, right? You're not going to be like most guys that are totally controlled, especially in this age. This is a very newer problem in the world, pornography, but it's a huge problem. But it's a newer problem. And the reality is most guys are caught down that rabbit hole, right? And masturbation and all this kind of stuff. This is not like a monk where you've renounced sex. So I want to just be clear with that. So when guys hear semen retention, they think I'll never ejaculate again. And I've already, as we said, that's not the case. Here's how, as a man, you can, even if you are having ejaculatory sex, or you're like, well, I don't know if I want to do the semen retention thing, but I do want to pursue my wife. I want to feel more connected. Lower your body fat. If you have to lower your body fat percentage and grow in muscle mass, meaning become more muscle than fat. Because when you as a man are more muscle, your testosterone is higher. And what drives your masculinity is your testosterone. Right now, testosterone on the planet has been dropping almost 1% every year since the 1920s. You will see that there overall in society, there's a high feminization of men. So men are becoming essentially more and more feminized. The challenge with this is that, and men are like dad bods and have like man boobs and all this stuff. First of all, physically, it is unattractive for a woman, right? Because it's just like any woman generally will tell you, I mean, I'm like, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but they want to see a guy with some, like you see a buff guy, he's got the chest, his chest is defined, his arms are he looks like a man, right? He's kind of, that is generally going to be more sexy than a guy who's overweight, he's carrying a lot of body fat, therefore he's probably going to be lazier. Now for women, my understanding, and again, jump in anytime from the women's perspective, right? And to be like, but my understanding is that women, it's not so much about physicality, but that is a part of it. And as men, like if you're a man listening to this, or you're a woman and you want your men, and you're like, hey, can you take a listen, right? Drop your body fat percentage, meaning start working out and start eating healthy. Because even if you don't practice semen retention, if you decide, no, I don't want to do that, simply by working out, lifting weights, or doing some kind of exercise that you feel like, you don't have to become some gym buff or anything. I'm not a big gym guy. You see, I'm not a huge guy like in that sense. But over time,
it's like cultivating male qualities.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. You have to cultivate masculine qualities. And first, so you have to understand what is a masculine quality, right? And the basics is to provide and protect. So here's the deal. Stop pursuing women and start pursuing success. Okay? Most guys think that the way to more women is by pursuing women. And actually, that is not our job as men. We shouldn't be running around chasing women. What we should be doing as men is providing and protecting. Means our job is to stay focused on our success, advance in your career, get things done around the house. It doesn't mean you have to become the president. It doesn't mean you have to, right? Like most women just want to see that you're doing masculine things. Like if there's a project at home, you know, if you were supposed to, you know, take the garbage out, take the frickin' garbage out, right? Like, you know, right? Like it's because, right? Because what you're doing is you're showing I am a man who gets things done. I am a man who accomplishes. I'm an advancing man. This is what I call an advancing man. So maybe you're in your career, right? And you're, you know, advance in your career. If you're like, I don't really want to advance in your career, you don't have to, right? Like you may be like, no, I'm happy with my job. I don't want to be a manager or something like this. Great. Maybe go in and volunteer your time in the community. Put yourself in a place where you're helping others, you're leading others, you're organizing, because what you're doing is you're showing signs that you are a good provider and protector. And there's a million ways to do that. So as men, working out, get into shape, you know, grow muscle mass. That's going to help your testosterone. It's going to help your sex drive.
Boost your energy.
It's going to boost your energy. You're going to feel more positive. And because you feel more positive, that's naturally going to be attractive. Naturally. Oh, there's a positive guy. He's going to have the signs that he's an advancing man. That's naturally, that's going to catch women's attention. Help others, right? And also up your skills in or up your masculine qualities. So just, you know, pursue, maybe get a side hustle, make a little bit more money, pursue spirituality if you're a spiritual man. Like, it doesn't matter. It's funny, like my experience so far is, and working with men now, like, you know, we've just had over 1,000 students come through the Semen Retention Army through all of our collective programs, right? We just passed 1,000 students over the last few years. And I'll tell you, it almost doesn't even matter what you're advancing in. It's just that you're advancing, right? So again, so some guys are like, well, I don't want to pursue, I like my job and I don't want to be a CEO. It's not about that. Your woman wants to see that you are growing. And that could just mean get things done around the house, take initiative, plan things. You be the planner. Say, hey, Friday night, I'm you know, give a little surprise too. Don't even tell her what you have planned. Just plan it and do it. Just say, Friday night, I need you looking the best. I need you looking your best Friday night. Done. And then have a night planned. And you know what? Every man does this at the beginning, right? Why? Because we all know if I plan a good night, generally she's going to give me a good night, right? So, but you mentioned it, Pim, that over time, we as men, and I will put my hand up and say guilty, you know, we this is just life, you know, we have to catch ourselves. So it's also being, you know, like real, like, you know, we're not all perfect, but is that we can just become entitled to it or think, why is my woman not pursuing me? Right? Why is she not, you know, why is she not just jumping all over me? And then you have to ask yourself, and it's a tough pill to swallow as a man. Am I the type of guy that she wants to jump all over? You know, am I an advancing man? Or am I sitting watching Netflix all day, playing video games all day, on the computer all day, eating crappy foods all day, growing a beer belly, which means you're full of estrogen, right? You're not full of testosterone. You're full of estrogen. You're full of feminine qualities. You're passive in your life. You're not advancing. She's not going to be turned on by you. And again, more women now are looking outside of their marriage for satisfaction than ever before. And there's a direct correlation to the fact that most men are more passive and less aggressive in their advancement than ever before as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you really sort of hit the nail on the head there, because everything that you say are things that annoys me. When the dude is just like, can't be bothered to do anything. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Can't be bothered. I'm just going to watch Netflix. I'm just going to sit and eat and engage in mindless self-harm, basically, by eating crap food. All of that is really, really unattractive. And there's no nice way of saying it. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect 100% of the time. And I imagine that it's the same thing on the other side as well. But it's something that is worth keeping in mind, is like, if things are not working, kind of look at your life, what's actually going on, because what you say is really true. And I don't know if most guys actually realize what sort of impact that would have.
I don't think they do, because unfortunately, and I mean, this is why we're doing what we're doing, and we're willing to have these conversations very openly and transparently, is because we recognized, like, for us, this was life-changing stuff. This was like, it's like, oh my gosh, it almost becomes obvious after the fact, right? Like, after you talk about it and you become aware, you're like, right, like, that obviously just makes sense. But when you're living life, and again, nobody's perfect. I'm not, some days I will just binge out and watch Netflix, but Sarah also knows that's not my day-to-day action. Like, she knows that that's not a regular. So when I do that, it's not like she's like, oh, like, geez, he's watching Netflix again. No, it's like, actually, sometimes Sarah's like, it's cool to chill out, right? Like, you can.
Sometimes I have to remind him.
Yeah, like, it's cool to chill out. It's cool to just, like, watch Netflix today and or just, whatever, right? So there's a balance, and we all have feminine and masculine energy within us. So, and there's sometimes, now we have a cool system. I think it's beneficial to talk about our captain system. I think I think that'll help a lot of couples. Mm-hmm. So there's sometimes where the woman needs to be in the masculine, right? Like, she needs to be in charge, right? Kind of thing, right? So we have a captain system, because in relationships, there's generally a subtle power struggle. And it shows up sometimes in the most stupidest of places, right? Like,
playing video games. Okay. Okay, so we're going to tell you a real story, okay? So we play this video game called Rocket League.
Rocket League, okay? And I'm not a video game player, right? But Sarah's a gamer, right? Like, she's a gamer and she's into video games. I'm not. So for me, Sarah leads the video game world in our relationship, right? And I try to put my effort into playing video games to spend time with Sarah and engage in things that she likes. But I do really like Rocket League, and I like FIFA. But anyways, that's another story. Right. So Sarah's way better at video games than I am. Like, she'll just, like, rock it. She's actually really awesome at them. And so this game Rocket League, we play. And so we're playing this game Rocket League, and we're on the same team. And I suck. Like, I am not good at this game, right? And so I'm just all over the place. So it's a video game where you have a car and you're, like, hitting this big bouncy ball.
It's like soccer, but you're in a car.
Yeah, it's like soccer, you're in a car, right? But anyways, right? And so I'm all over the place, just like, because I'm like, I'm pressing buttons and I'm missing and I'm crashing into her, and I'm just not a very good player at the game. And so, she's getting frustrated because we're getting our ass kicked, right? And because we're playing against other people online, right? And we're just getting our ass kicked. And she's getting frustrated because she's like, wants to win, right? And she's like, look, I want to win. And I'm just like, video, right? And so she says, so finally to get us winning and to have some team play here, she says, you stay in the net. Now, at first, I'm resistant because I'm like, I just want to frickin' press buttons and just don't tell me what to do, right? Right? So this is the subtle power control, right? As a man, we don't like to be told what to do. I'm the man, right? But we have to be like above that kind of pettiness. So she says, you play in the net and get good at that. And so she shows me, if you play in the net, you'll actually do better and blah, 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 blah. So what we did is we created this system called the captain system. So depending on the activity that we're doing or the decisions that need to be made, we will first call out who is captain. Okay? If I am captain, then I am leading the situation, or I am making, in a sense, it's like permission that I get the final say. I will, because you have to, eventually someone has to make a decision, right, of what we're doing. So in the business, because we work together in our business, right, I'm the captain in the business, right? So great. So she'll present ideas. Sometimes I'll be like, yeah, that's awesome, let's do it. Other times I'll be like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it this way, right? And that's just because that's life. That's just what it is. In other times, like for example, in video games, Sarah is captain, right? When we play Rocket League, Sarah's, so when she says, get in the net, I am supporting her. I get my butt in the net and I'm going to protect the ball. When it comes to decorating the house, Sarah is captain. She may say, what do you think about this? And I have very low standards when it comes to decorating the house, right? If it was up to me, we would have 4 walls and a roof, and I'd be like, look, we're good, okay? We're good. We got 4 walls and a
mattress on the floor.
Yeah, and a mattress on the floor, right? Because that's masculine mindset, right? Very functional, right? Then why do you want to spend money on that, right? Like, to me, that's it's not functional. Like, why would we put money there, right? But obviously, again, learning about this and realizing that as a man, allowing your woman to lead in certain ways will bring so much to your life. Like, our living room is a beautiful living room. I actually like going in there and sitting there, and I laugh to myself because I'm like, I would be the asshole that would be like, oh, we're spending money on this carpet and, blah, 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 right? But then when it's all separated, I'm like, oh, it's really nice in here. I like sitting in this room, right? Right? And so what we've learned is that
the captain system has saved us from many arguments and
resentment.
Yeah, and we use it even in the smallest situations. Like if we're both in the kitchen cooking. Well, it's hard. We just say, okay, well, I'm captain right now, so he'll be like, okay, what do you need me to do? I need you to do meal. I need you to chop vegetables. So even in small situations like that, when we're able to just verbally accept that there's going to be a leader in a situation, there's no problems anymore.
Yeah, there's that subtle power struggle goes away. And it's the simplest things. We're going to watch a movie on Netflix. Okay, you're choosing the movie tonight. So there's none of that, oh, what do you want to watch? Well, I don't know. What do you want to watch? I don't know. You make a decision. Oh my God, right? It's just and it's and again, it's that subtle powerness that over time, that's what kills your passion in your relationship.
Or creates resentment and
it creates all these undertones of resentment, or I don't feel like maybe the woman feels like she never gets her way. That's why I said one of the biggest differences when you came back from your own journey with your health was that Sarah set boundaries for herself. I'm into this and I'm not into that. I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about just life. What I mean? And sex too, right? I'm into this and I'm not. It goes for it all, right? It's cross board. I'm willing to, Sarah had said some things about spiritual practices, right? Where she's I really like these aspects of our spiritual practice. I'm not into these aspects, more like the cultural aspects and such. Great, good. This is what works for me. I mean, one perfect example is that I'm vegetarian. Sarah's not. It's fine. Because we've set boundaries about certain things. So we allow each other to be individuals, and at the same time, we're still partners. And we see our life as a partnership, and we verbalize it. So it's not And I think one of the biggest challenges with couples, I know at least when I'm working like with guys and working with them on their, half the things, nothing's being verbalized.
Well, a lot of couples, they're not even friends.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah. They're kind of like coexisting. Yeah, they're like, okay, we've got kids now, so we have to stay together, or, we coexist, we live together. But again, that's why there's a lot of cheating and a lot of all this stuff, right? And then so when all that stuff is going on, or even if there's no, like, say, cheating per se, but there's just a lot of resentment and, and it's generally neither one's fault completely, right? Like, it's generally both. Maybe someone's not setting boundaries, or like I find like with women that when I talk to women, I'm like, are you communicating your boundaries? Are you communicating your desires? Are you telling him what you want? Well, no. Well, he's not a mind reader, And same thing with the men. Are you telling her what you want? Are you saying, this is what I'd like to try? Well, no. A lot of that, because they're almost afraid of each other. In a way, right? Like, I don't know what she's going to think, or blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this is the person that you should be the most vulnerable with, right? Ideally, this is the person you're ideally going to spend the most time with in your life, and you're hiding some of your most deepest aspects of your psyche. No wonder you have resentment. And what most people do is blame their partner. But it's not the partner to blame. It's like, hold on, am I communicating? And it does take work, and it's not always perfect, and relationships can get messy, but that's also it's part of the joy, right? It's part of the fun of it, of figuring it out. But yeah, if there's like a couple watching, or, the captain system, I'm telling you, it's like such a wonderful system.
It revolutionized.
Yeah, it revolutionizes it. Just call out captain and allow each other to be captains and play to your strengths. Like I'm very happy that, trust me, you don't want me decorating the living room. The colors won't match.
I don't even want you hanging a picture.
It's true, because that picture's going to be crooked. The colors won't match. I'm going to put up like this, because I just like it's like outfits, like when I dress, like Sarah's helped me dress. If not, like, because I'll be like, well, I really like these pants, and I really like this shirt. So I'll put on a pair of pants I like, and I'll put on a shirt that I like. But Sarah will be like, I get that you like them as separate pieces, but they don't go together. Right? Yeah, they don't. But I'm like, but I like the shirt and I like the pants. So the way that if I was to dress myself without Sarah's input, though, it would just be a mismatch of things. I would just pick things I like, but I wouldn't be able to see the whole picture.
For the record, he's gotten a lot better. I'm just putting.
And that's because of you, because you've taught me things. Like I've better, and these are very feminine type things, right? Like right, and seeing the world. And so when again you have a nice captain system, and you can acknowledge each other's strengths, and you can admit where you're weak. Like I know I'm weaker in decorating and beauty, things of like making things look good. Definitely I'm weaker in that. So I acknowledge that. And then I lean more on Sarah, or Sarah's definitely like, I'll even be like, can you captain that? Like I'll even be like, you captain that, because I trust her eye. On other things, I'll captain that, right? Because there's more skill sets that I have, that I bring to the table that Sarah doesn't. And that's the beauty of masculine, feminine energy. We complement each other. So when you as a couple learn to work together...
Sorry?
No,
I was just wondering, did you ever have like occasions where you're like, okay, I'm the captain, and you're like, hang on, I wanted to be the captain, and you kind of start having this internal fight about whether to actually speak up about you wanting to be the captain when she's already said it, or the other way around?
Actually, no. I think we respect we respect the captain system. If someone is declared the captain, then that's that.
Yeah. And again, like the captain system is generally based. We know each other, and we know ourselves as individuals well enough to know. This is where you have to take personal responsibility too. the best thing that anyone can do for their relationship, in my opinion, is to get better as an individual. When I say get better, meaning know yourself better and acknowledge, I'm good at these things and these things I'm not so good at. So generally, I don't think, I was trying to remember, I don't think we've ever battled it out on who's the captain, because we kind of already know who's better suited to be captain. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We already kind of know, like, there's certain things, like, again, if we're going to go shopping, right, for house decorations.
Groceries.
Sarah's just better suited to be captain.
But it saves, even though, like, we kind of have an idea of who is probably better well suited to be captain, at least, like, I'll use the cooking example. So if we didn't declare a captain, then if I just said, Nick, go cut those vegetables, then he'll be like, well, why are you... That's kind of rude to just be telling me go cut vegetables. So it kind of cuts out the, again, the resentment or the why are you in charge?
Yeah.
So by declaring it right in the beginning, it just, like I said before, it has saved us so many frustrations.
And we see it in other couples when we're hanging out with other couples, young couples, old couples, we go to we see where the subtle power dynamic is there, and we'd be like, man, they need the captain system, right? Like they just need to, like, set. And I'm sorry, but this is going to be politically incorrect, but I don't care about that. Roles. Oh my gosh, I said it. Gender roles, right? Whether it's, and it doesn't mean that, like, it's oh no, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm talking about roles. Yes, I am. That there is men are dispositioned for certain types of ways, and women are dispositioned for a certain type of ways. And I think it's a massive disservice to tell the world that we are the exact same. Equal and the same does not mean the same thing. Yes, equality. I'm all for equal. Sarah is my equal.
Yep.
But are we the same? No. Equal doesn't necessarily mean the same. I have masculine qualities, so therefore I have a masculine mindset, and I see the world through, and I'm never going to get away from that. I see the world through a masculine frame or body. And Sarah is a woman who's got very feminine qualities, and she will see the world through a feminine frame. Once we can understand and respect each other in that way, then we can complement each other. And we can also help each other get better at certain things, right? Like, for me, we were talking about this over the weekend a bit about, like, being a little bit more nurturing when Sarah is feeling down. Right? Because I tend to take on a masculine way, right? Like, suck it up, buttercup, and keep going, right? Type of thing, right? And she'll be like, no, that's not what I need, right? Like, at sometimes, so again, there's no perfect, like, and never expect or demand perfection from your partner. This is someone that you're supposed to love, and none of us are perfect. We're not always going to get it right. But if 90% of the time, or 95% of the time, or even 80% of the time you're getting it right, then who cares about the 5 or 10% when you don't get it right? That's easily forgiven.
Yeah.
Easily. When it's overall good, when things mess up, or oh shit, I messed up on that, my bad, or we say things that like, because that happens in relation, that's life. We also accept mistakes as part of the journey, and I think that we need to always remember that like we're supposed to be helping each other, not fighting with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sarah, I would like to hear a few final words from you. Like, what has been the absolute best thing, and why would you recommend, if you can even recommend that, other women will try to get their partners into doing something similar. Like, how has this changed your life?
It's very simple. Better sex. He's more attentive. We're more connected. And again, he's just ultra focused on our mutual goals. So yeah, I have nothing like, I don't know if I can go into more detail, but then like what I've already like said earlier on in the podcast. But yeah, just super focused. And from him practicing the semen retention or sexual alchemy, his masculine energy, it's just cultivating his masculine energy, which is making him more attractive to me, which is again making him more desirable, which has improved our sex life. And when I just find that when our sex life is good, everything else seems to be really really good too. But I guess how you treat one thing is kind of how you treat everything. So if he's being more attentive in the bedroom, he's more attentive in the business, and vice versa. So I definitely recommend, if you're a guy out there who's kind of thinking about it but hasn't made a final a decision yet, you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. All you have is what to gain. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to put the details out again, but if people want to ask you some questions, to get hold of you, etc., is there some way that they can do that? Or the best way to do that? Where can they find you?
Yeah, best way is to go to nakuladas.com, and there's a contact form where you can send an email, and if you want to direct it to Sarah, you could just say, attention Sarah, or Nakula pass this to Sarah. We work together in the business, so it'll end up for her. Or if you want to ask us a question as a couple, maybe you're a couple and you want a couple to talk to, just reach out. We're very open. We do this to help, and again, that's why we're so open. And telling people about it, because we know the benefits, we know how great this has been for our life, and I think it's natural that when you find, it's like, you find something great, you just want to share it. And again, we've met so many couples, and they're beautiful people, and they love each other, but yet we can see like that dynamic. If they just understood a little bit of how masculine feminine energy work, and dropped the power struggle and started complementing each other's energies, like how much more their relationship would enhance both in and outside the bedroom.
Yeah, do you work with couples as well, or is it just the guys?
I work with just the guys as of right now. I am very open to working with couples. In that sense, I don't work with women like one-to-one or anything. I've actually helped some women answer questions and such, but I don't have programs or anything. I also don't feel qualified to work with women because I can't give a personal experience, right? I can tell you what I've read, what I've studied and such, but I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. I generally work with men, and I'm very open to working with couples.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming here today. It was awesome to have you here, Sarah, and just kind of shine that female perspective on things, which he couldn't really answer last time, which is cool, and I can understand. But
I am
that's
limited.
why you're here. So no, thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me.
And I'll just say this before we sign off too. Like obviously Sarah, you can see, I say obviously, but Sarah's much more like introverted. She's normally doesn't jump on camera, and I'm the one out there like blah 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 blah, right? So just like
I'm a lot more comfortable behind the scenes, but I appreciate you inviting me on the show, and I'm really happy that I was able to be here today with you.
I'm happy you said yes. You're my girl. I'm also an introvert, but here I am. We just do what we do, and hopefully we can help some people. So thank
Hopefully.
you. I know it's not always easy to be on camera, but I hope that some people will feel, that they got their questions answered. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.